June Kim stood at the large window of his private spaceship. The stars glittered against the black of space. His reflection showed a man of 45 years with tired eyes but a determined face. He had worked hard to become one of the richest humans in the galaxy. Now he owned things most people could only dream of. Today was important. June had just bought Starhaven Hotels, a chain of space hotels that was losing money. Many people thought he was making a mistake. The hotels were old. They had problems. But June saw something others missed. "Sir, we will dock at Starhaven Prime in 10 minutes, said the ship's computer. June straightened his simple black suit. He did not dress like other billionaires. No gold, no fancy clothes, just practical things that worked well. That was how he had built Kim Technologies from nothing. Send a message to the hotel manager. Tell them I will arrive without announcement. I want to see how the hotel really works, not a special show for the owner. The computer beeped in agreement. Starhaven Prime was the biggest hotel in the chain. It floated near a busy space trading route where many alien species met to do business. The hotel was shaped like a giant wheel with rooms along the outer ring. As June's ship moved closer, he could see that parts of the structure looked worn out. Some of the lights were not working. This would need a lot of work. June's ship docked at a private entrance. He stepped out alone, carrying just one small bag. The dock was empty except for a single blue-skinned alien. She was Lysarian, a species known for their grace and intelligence. The blue patterns on her skin glowed softly in the dim light. She wore the plain gray uniform of hotel maintenance workers. "Welcome to Starhaven Prime, Mr. Kim," she said with a small bow. Her voice had the musical quality all Lysarians shared. "I am Mira. I have been assigned to assist with your luggage." June looked around. "Where is the manager?" "The reception team?" Mira's blue skin darkened slightly at the cheeks, a Lysarian blush. "I was told you requested no special welcome, sir." "The manager is dealing with an issue in the main dining room." "I see." June handed her his bag. "Then you will show me to my room, Mira." They walked through quiet service corridors instead of the main halls. June noticed everything. The walls needed cleaning. Some lights flickered. But everything that truly mattered, air systems, gravity controls, security doors, worked perfectly. Someone was maintaining the important things with great care. "How long have you worked here?" he asked. Mira kept her eyes forward. 8 years, sir. And always in maintenance?" Her step faltered for just a moment. "No, sir. I was head concierge until 3 months ago. Concierge to maintenance is a big change." "What happened?" Mira stopped at a door and placed her hand on the scanner. "Your suite, Mr. Kim." She had not answered his question. The door slid open to reveal a large room with a stunning view of space. The furniture was expensive but old. Someone had placed fresh flowers on the table, a luxury in space where growing things was difficult. "The flowers are a nice touch," June said. "The Drexian guests do not care for them, but human visitors always appreciate living plants," Mira replied. "Will you need anything else, sir?" June noticed her careful words. "Drexian guests?" The Drexians were a powerful alien race known for their business skills and their dislike of humans. Before June bought Starhaven Hotels, the chain had been owned by a Drexian company. "Yes, tell me why you were moved from concierge to maintenance." Mira's blue markings pulsed once, a sign of emotion in Lysarians. "The new management before your purchase had different service standards, sir. I disagreed with some changes." "What changes?" "It is not my place to criticize." "It is if I ask you to," June said firmly. "I need honest people, not yes men." Mira straightened her shoulders. "The Drexian management ordered us to give the best rooms to Drexian guests only. Humans were to be placed in the poorest rooms even if they paid for better ones. I refuse to follow this rule." June nodded slowly. This confirmed what he had suspected. "Thank you for your honesty. That will be all for now." After Mira left, June explored his suite. Everything worked, but just barely. The shower took too long to heat up. The bed was slightly lumpy. The room temperature control was slow to respond. None of these things would bother most guests, but June noticed details. That's how he had become successful. He changed into casual clothes and left his room. Time to see the hotel as a regular guest would. The main areas of Starhaven Prime were more impressive than the private sections. A huge central garden filled the middle of the wheel-shaped station. Trees from 20 different worlds grew under special lights. Paths wound between alien plants with strange, beautiful flowers. But June saw the dead leaves that hadn't been cleaned up. He noticed the dry soil around some plants. In the main restaurant, a group of Drexian business people sat at the best tables. They were tall, gray-skinned aliens with sharp features. A human family was seated near the kitchen doors where servers constantly walked past, disturbing their meal. June sat at the bar and ordered a drink. The human bartender looked tired. "First time at Star Haven?" the bartender asked. "Yes," June said simply. He never told people who he was when he wanted honest opinions. "It used to be better," the bartender said quietly. "Still good if you're Drexian. Not so great for the rest of us. Us? Humans or Lysarians, or any non-Drexian, really." The bartender placed a drink in front of June. "Management keeps cutting corners. Maintenance is behind schedule. But they always have money for the Drexian VIP lounge upgrades." Just then, the lights in the restaurant flickered. The temperature dropped suddenly. Guests looked around in confusion. The Drexian table made loud noises of disapproval. "Great. Environmental controls again," the bartender sighed. "Third time this week." The manager, a nervous-looking Drexian, rushed in. He bowed deeply to the Drexian guests, promising the problem would be fixed immediately. June watched quietly. He had experienced these kinds of accidents before, when someone wanted to make a business look bad so it could be bought cheaply. He wondered if the former Drexian owners were still creating problems, unhappy that a human had purchased the chain. Before the manager could call for help, a small door in the wall opened. Mira stepped out carrying a toolkit. Without speaking to anyone, she walked directly to a control panel and began working. Her blue fingers moved quickly, adjusting settings and replacing a small part she had brought with her. Within 2 minutes, the light stabilized and warm air began flowing again. "Fixed," she said simply to the manager. The manager barely looked at her. "Return to your other duties." June watched Mira leave. She had known exactly what was wrong and how to fix it. She had been prepared with the right part. This was not the first time she had fixed this problem. Later that evening, June was working in his room when the computer system crashed. The lights went out. The emergency backup came on, but the room systems remained dead. He was not surprised when, 3 minutes later, there was a knock on his door. Mira stood there with her toolkit. "Apologies for the system failure, Mr. Kim. May I enter to repair it?" June stepped aside. "You knew it would happen. I suspected it might." Mira went to the main panel and began working. "The same failure has happened in this suite twice before when important guests stayed here." "Sabotage?" Mira's hands paused for just a second before continuing their work. "I would never suggest such a thing, sir. But you prepared for it anyway. I prepare for all potential issues." The systems came back online as she spoke. "It is my job to maintain function, not to question why things break." June watched her work. "How did you know to come to my room? The systems are down, so no alarm could have reached you." "I have modified my maintenance scanner to alert me to specific failure patterns," she admitted. "It is not standard procedure." "It's smart," June said. "And exactly what I would have done." For the first time, Mira looked directly at him. Her violet eyes studied his face. "Tomorrow there is an important reception for diplomats from 5 worlds," she said carefully. "Based on the pattern of failures, I believe the atmospheric controls in the main hall will malfunction approximately 30 minutes after the event begins." "And you're telling me because?" "Because you are the owner. And because you asked for honesty." Mira closed her toolkit. "I will be monitoring the systems. If you wish to attend, you need not worry about the comfort of your guests." June made a decision then. This hotel had problems, yes, but it also had Mira, and people like her were worth more than fancy decorations or new furniture. "I have a better idea," he said. "Tomorrow you will attend the reception as my personal assistant." "Not as maintenance staff." Mira's blue markings pulsed with surprise. "Sir, that would not be appropriate." "My current position is temporary," June finished. "I need someone who knows this hotel inside out. Someone who cares about making things work, not just making them look good. That's you. The management will not approve. I don't need their approval. I own the hotel," June smiled slightly. "Consider this your first assignment. Find yourself an appropriate outfit for tomorrow's reception. You're no longer maintenance staff." Mira stood very still, her expression carefully controlled, but the patterns on her blue skin glowed brighter. revealing her emotions. "Thank you for the opportunity, Mr. Kim. I will not disappoint you." The diplomatic reception was held in the Grand Garden Hall of Starhaven Prime. Representatives from 5 different worlds moved around the room, talking in small groups. Soft music played. Servers carried trays of food and drinks chosen to please many different alien tastes. Jun Kim stood near the entrance, watching everything. He wore a simple black suit that had cost more than some small spaceships. Next to him stood Mira, no longer in the gray maintenance uniform. She now wore a deep blue dress that matched her skin tone. The formal clothes did not hide her natural grace. "The Centaurian ambassador keeps looking at the Drexian trade minister," Mira said quietly. "There is tension there. Last month, Drexian ships blocked a Centaurian supply route." June nodded. This was why he had wanted Mira with him. She knew the politics, the personalities, the problems. And the human delegation? Placed at the table nearest the kitchen doors, again. Mira's voice remained professional, but June caught the disapproval. "I would have placed them near the window. Humans appreciate natural views more than most species." "We'll change their seating," June decided. Quietly, make it seem like a simple mistake being fixed. Mira moved away to arrange this. As she did, the hotel manager approached June. The Drexian's name was Vex, and his gray face showed no emotion as he bowed slightly. "Mr. Kim, we did not expect you to attend tonight's function." His eyes followed Mira across the room. "I see you have borrowed one of our staff, not borrowed, reassigned," June corrected. "Mira now works directly for me." Vex's mouth tightened. "That is most irregular. She has duties, which now include assisting me." June sipped his drink calmly. "Unless you question my authority as owner." The Drexian stepped back slightly. "Of course not, sir. I merely think someone of her background is not suitable for such visible work." Before June could ask what this meant, Mira returned. "The seating has been corrected, Mr. Kim." "Excellent." June turned away from the manager, dismissing him without words. "Tell me about the chef here. The food seems popular." As Mira began explaining, June noticed the temperature in the room changing. It became slightly warmer, then colder, then warmer again. Most guests didn't notice, but June saw Mira's eyes dart to the control panel near the door. "The atmospheric system?" he asked quietly. She nodded. "Beginning to fluctuate. Exactly as I predicted. Can you fix it without drawing attention?" "Yes, but I will need to access the main controls. They are behind that panel." She indicated a wall section near where the Drexian diplomats were gathering. "I'll create a distraction," June said. "Be ready." He walked directly to the center of the room and tapped his glass with a spoon. All eyes turned to him. "Distinguished guests," June began, speaking loudly. "As the new owner of Starhaven Hotels, I want to welcome you personally to this historic station." While everyone focused on June's unexpected speech, Mira slipped to the wall panel. Her fingers worked quickly, entering codes and adjusting settings. By the time June finished speaking, the room temperature had stabilized. Later, as the reception continued successfully, June stood by the large window overlooking space. Mira joined him carrying 2 glasses. "Earthwater," she said, offering him one. "I noticed you haven't touched the alcohol." June accepted the glass. "You notice everything, don't you?" It was my job as concierge to anticipate needs before they were expressed. She looked out at the stars. "The reception is going well now. The human delegates seem pleased with their new table." "Tell me about your background that Manager Vex thinks makes you unsuitable," June said. Mira's blue markings dimmed slightly. "My father was part of a resistance movement against Drexian economic expansion in our sector. He believed their business practices harmed smaller worlds. Was he right? Yes. But saying so publicly made him enemies." She turned to face June. "Being associated with me could cause problems for you. The Drexians have long memories." June smiled slightly. "I didn't build my company by avoiding problems, Mira. I built it by solving them." The next day, June's private ship left Starhaven Prime. Mira sat in the passenger section, looking uncomfortable despite the luxury around her. "I've never left the station in 8 years, she admitted when June joined her. "Where exactly are we going?" "Centauri 3, June said. "The next hotel in the chain. I want to see all 15 properties within the next month." He handed her a data pad. "This is your new contract. Personal assistant to the owner." The salary is 10 times what you made as concierge. Mira's eyes widened as she read the figure. This is too much. It's exactly right for what I need you to do. June sat across from her. Every hotel we visit, I want to know everything. Who works hard? Who cuts corners? Who might be causing problems on purpose? You believe the system failures are deliberate, don't you? June asked. Mira looked down. It would be disloyal to accuse a loyalty to whom? June interrupted. The Drexian management that demoted you for treating humans fairly? Or to the guests who deserve good service regardless of their species? When you put it that way, Mira's blue markings glowed a little brighter. Yes, I believe someone is sabotaging the systems. The patterns are too specific to be accidents. June nodded. Together we'll find out who and why. The journey to Centauri 3 took 2 days. June spent much of it working, sending messages to Earth, reviewing financial reports. Mira learned quickly, organizing his schedule and anticipating his needs just as she had done for hotel guests. Centauri 3 was a smaller hotel, built inside an asteroid. Its special feature was a restaurant with views of the famous Centauri rings. When June's ship docked, the entire management team waited to greet him, all Drexians except for one nervous human woman. Welcome, Mr. Kim, the head manager said with a deep bow. We have prepared the owner's suite. No, June interrupted. Give me a standard room. I want to experience what regular guests experience. The managers exchanged worried looks. Sir, said the human woman hesitantly, perhaps the executive suite would be more comfortable while still giving you a typical guest experience. June studied her. She seemed genuinely concerned for his comfort, not just trying to hide problems. And you are? Sung, sir. Gina Sung. Guest relations. Fine, Ms. Sung, the executive suite then. But I will visit other room types during my stay. As they walked through the hotel, June noticed the same patterns as at Starhaven Prime. The public areas looked good at first glance, but needed maintenance. The systems worked, but not well. And there was a clear difference between how Drexian guests were treated and how others were treated. The restaurant is our main attraction, Gina explained as they entered a large space with huge windows showing the glowing Centauri rings. Though recently we've had to make some changes to the menu. What changes? June asked. Perhaps I could explain that, sir, said a deep voice. A human man approached wearing chef's clothes. He was tall with broad shoulders and a serious face. I'm Day, the head chef. Or I was until 3 months ago. Day is now our secondary chef, Gina said quickly. Chef Krell oversees all menus now, and who is Chef Krell? June asked. A Drexian culinary expert, Day said, his voice neutral but his eyes angry. He specializes in Drexian cuisine. June looked around the restaurant. Most of the customers were Drexian. A few tables had humans or other species, but they looked unhappy with their food. Show me the kitchen, June said. The kitchen was large and modern. One side sparkled with new equipment. The other side looked older, less maintained. A tall Drexian chef worked at the new section, directing several assistants. They led June to the older section. This is where we prepare non-Drexian food now, Day explained. My budget was cut by 70%. I can only offer basic dishes. Your dishes used to be famous, I understand, June said. Earth ingredients combined with alien flavors. Day looked surprised. You've heard of my cooking? I research what I buy, Chef Day. June touched a worn counter. These facilities are unacceptable. That evening, June sat in his suite with Mira, eating food that Day had prepared specially. The flavors were amazing, familiar Earth tastes with exotic alien spices. This is what made the restaurant famous, Mira said, enjoying her own meal. Before the Drexians took over management, people from 20 systems would come just to eat Day's food. June's computer chimed. A message from Earth appeared on the screen. It was Hannah Park, his operations director. I've completed the financial analysis you requested, Hannah said. Her serious face showed concern. It's worse than we thought. The Drexian management is deliberately running the human-friendly establishments at a loss. They're manipulating the accounts to make it look like serving humans isn't profitable. So they can justify closing those sections, June finished, or selling them off, exactly. They're systematically pushing humans out of the galactic hospitality industry. Hannah's eyes narrowed. This isn't just business, June. It's species politics. After the call ended, June stood at the window looking at the beautiful rings of Centauri, Space was so vast with room for all species to succeed. Why this effort to exclude humans? You look troubled, Mira said, joining him at the window. I'm beginning to see a pattern bigger than broken room controls, June replied. The Drexians aren't just running these hotels badly. They're doing it on purpose. What will you do? June turned to her. What would you do if you owned Starhaven hotels? 3 weeks passed as June and Mira visited more hotels in the Starhaven chain. Each place showed the same problems. Systems that failed at key moments. Drexian guests treated better than others. Human visitors given the worst service. Now they had arrived at the Orion Belt Resort, the largest property after Starhaven Prime. This hotel was famous for its beautiful views of the Orion Nebula and its luxury spa, treatments that could be adjusted for any alien body type. The maintenance systems here are more advanced than at the other locations, Mira explained as they walked through service corridors few guests ever saw. That's why I wanted to check them personally, June nodded. He had come to trust Mira's instincts. In every hotel they had visited, she had found evidence of deliberate sabotage. Small changes to computer systems, settings adjusted to make human guests uncomfortable, but they still didn't understand the bigger purpose behind these actions. The main control room should be through here, Mira said, stopping at a locked door. She placed her hand on the scanner, but it flashed red. Strange. My maintenance codes should work on all properties. Let me try, June said. He placed his hand on the scanner. The light turned green. The door opened. Owner override, Mira said with a small smile. Useful. The control room was filled with screens showing different parts of the hotel. One wall displayed the environmental systems, temperature, gravity, air quality. Another showed security cameras. A third had guest information. How many people were staying, what species they were, what services they had requested. Everything seems normal, June said. Scanning the displays, Mira moved to the security section. Her fingers moved quickly over the controls. Let me check something. She accessed a hidden menu, then another. There's an unusual power drain in Section 14. That's the human guest area. Show me. Mira brought up the floor plan for Section 14. Nothing looked unusual, but when she switched to power usage displays, they could see that each human guest room was using more energy than it should. What's drawing the power? June asked. I'm not sure. It's not the normal systems. Mira's blue markings pulsed with concentration. We need to check a room directly. They left the control room and took a service elevator to Section 14. The corridor was quiet, most guests out enjoying the resort's attractions. This room is empty right now, Mira said, stopping at a door. The guests are scheduled for a spacewalk tour. June used his owner's code to open the door. The room looked normal, a standard luxury suite with a good view of the nebula. But Mira went straight to the environmental control panel on the wall. She carefully removed the cover. There, she said, pointing to a small black device connected to the main circuitry. That shouldn't be there. What is it? I'm not sure. She took out a small scanner from her pocket and passed it over the device. The scanner beeped. It's transmitting data, and it has a small camera and microphone. June frowned. Surveillance? Why would they need that? The hotel already has security cameras in the public areas. This is different, Mira said, studying her scanner results. It's not connected to hotel security. It's sending data somewhere else entirely. They checked 2 more rooms and found the same device in each one. All were hidden in places guests wouldn't look. Behind panels, under furniture, inside air vents. They're only in the human rooms, Mira said as they returned to June's suite. Not in any other species accommodations. June paced the room, thinking hard. They're watching humans specifically. Why, what are they looking for? Before Mira could answer, the ship's computer chimed. Incoming call from Earth. Hannah Park. June accepted the call. Hannah's serious face appeared on the screen. June, I found something interesting in the personnel files you sent. Over the past year, the Drexian management has hired 42 new staff members with backgrounds in data analysis and technical intelligence. For a hotel chain? June asked. That makes no sense. Exactly. These aren't hospitality workers. They're intelligence specialists. Hannah looked concerned. What does a hotel need with intelligence experts? After the call ended, June turned to Mira. The surveillance devices, the intelligence specialists, they're collecting information on humans. But what information? Perhaps, Mira began, but stopped as the light suddenly went out. The room's gravity flickered, making them feel lighter for a moment. Then everything returned to normal. Another accident? June asked. Mira checked her scanner. No, this was different. It was a power surge from the main reactor. Her expression became worried. We should leave now. Why? Because that was the beginning of a cascade failure. I've seen it before. The next step will be... A loud alarm sounded. A computerized voice spoke calmly over the speakers. Attention, all guests. Minor decompression detected in Section 14. Please proceed to emergency shelters. This is not a drill. Decompression? In the human section? June grabbed his emergency pack. That's not a coincidence. They hurried into the corridor. Other guests were moving toward the emergency shelters, some looking scared, others merely annoyed by the inconvenience. Hotel staff directed traffic, but June noticed none of them seemed surprised or worried. They knew this was going to happen, he muttered to Mira. Instead of following the crowd to the emergency shelters, June pulled Mira down a side corridor. We need to get to your ship. I don't trust this hotel anymore. They used service passageways to reach the private docking bay where June's ship waited. Once inside, June engaged the security protocols, sealing the ship against any outside access. Take us out, he ordered the ship's computer. Break dock and move to safe distance. The ship hummed to life, detaching from the hotel and moving away into space. Through the view screen, they could see the Orion Belt Resort growing smaller. No visible damage showed on the outside, supporting June's suspicion that the decompression had been faked. We're safe now, he said, turning to Mira. Now tell me what you know about the Drexians and their interest in humans. Mira sat down, her blue skin paler than usual. I should have told you sooner, but I was taught never to speak of these things to outsiders. I think we're past that now, June said gently. Mira nodded. The Drexians fear humans, have feared them since your species first achieved space travel. Fear us? Why, we're newcomers to the galactic community. Our technology isn't as advanced as many species. That's just it, Mira said. By all normal patterns of development, humans should be centuries behind where you are now. Your species went from primitive flight to space travel in less than 70 years. It took the Drexians 300 years to make the same progress. June considered this. We adapt quickly. Is that so threatening? To species like the Drexians who value stability and slow, controlled progress? Yes. Mira's markings pulsed with emotion. Humans don't recognize limitations the way other species do. You see an obstacle and immediately look for ways around it. This makes you unpredictable. So they're watching us to understand our technology, our methods? I believe so. The surveillance in the hotel rooms, the intelligence specialist Hana found. They're studying how humans think, how you solve problems, what makes you different. June stood and walked to the view screen looking out at the stars. And they're using the hotel chain as cover for their surveillance. Yes, a perfect cover. Travelers discuss business freely in hotel rooms. They use computer systems. They reveal their interests through the services they request. The ship's computer chimed. Incoming transmission from Orion Belt Resort. Manager Tyke requests to speak with you. June hesitated, then nodded. Accept transmission. Visual only from our side. The screen showed a Lissarian male with dark blue skin and angry eyes. Mr. Kim, you left rather abruptly during our safety procedures. I felt safer in my own ship, June replied calmly, especially since the decompression seemed to target only human guest quarters. Tyke's face showed no reaction. A regrettable coincidence. The system is old and... Save the excuses, June interrupted. I know about the surveillance devices in the human rooms. I know about the intelligence specialists you've hired. The question is, what do the Drexians want with this information? A flash of surprise crossed Tyke's face, quickly hidden. I don't know what you're talking about. Perhaps your assistant has been filling your head with conspiracy theories. His eyes fixed on Mira. She has a history of unreliable claims. I trust Mira completely, June said firmly. Then you are a fool, Tyke said, dropping his professional manner. Did she tell you about her family's disgrace? How her father was imprisoned for spreading lies about Drexian business practices? How she only got her position at Star Haven because they pitied her? Mira stepped forward. My father told the truth. That was his only crime. Tyke smiled coldly. The truth as rebels see it, perhaps. You could have had a respected position, Mira. I offered you advancement if you had simply followed the new protocols. Yet you chose to ally yourself with humans, he shook his head. And now you've dragged your new employer into danger as well. Is that a threat? June asked quietly. Merely an observation, Tech replied. The Drexian Consortium does not appreciate having its operations questioned, even by wealthy humans. The screen went dark as he cut the connection. June turned to Mira, who stood with her head down, markings dim with shame. You should have told me about your father. 3 months later, June stood on the observation deck of an old space platform orbiting Earth's moon. The structure had been abandoned for years. It was ugly with peeling paint and outdated systems, but June saw its potential. The air recyclers are working at 87% efficiency, Mira reported, checking her scanner. Better than expected for equipment this old. June nodded. This was the 5th abandoned space structure they had purchased in the past month. Each one cost very little. Most companies thought these old platforms were worthless. But June had different ideas. Have the construction team start tomorrow, he told Hana, who stood nearby making notes on her datapad. Use the same approach as the other locations. Keep the character of the original structure but make it comfortable and safe. The designers sent new concept drawings, Hana said, showing him the screen. They've incorporated your ideas about showcasing Earth culture. The images showed the old platform transformed. The industrial corridors became warm, inviting spaces with wood panels and plants. The metal walls were covered with artwork from Earth's many cultures. The central area became a garden with trees and flowers. Perfect, June said. This will be our Earth history location. Each room will represent a different period or culture. The materials should arrive next week, Hana said. We're still on schedule to open the first location in 2 months. Mira looked out the viewport at the stars. The Drexians have noticed your purchases. Tyke contacted me yesterday. June raised an eyebrow. Oh, what did our old colleague want? To offer me my position back, Mira said with a small smile. With a substantial promotion. He said working for a human with doomed business ideas was beneath my talents. And what did you tell him? That I prefer working with someone who values all species equally. Her blue markings glowed with amusement. He was not pleased, June laughed. In the months since they had discovered the Drexian surveillance, he had grown to rely on Mira's insight and quiet strength. She had become more than an assistant, she was a true partner in his new venture. Let them wonder what we're doing, he said. They'll find out soon enough. 2 days later, June met with Dai, the chef they had met at Centauri 3. After learning how the Drexians had limited his culinary creativity, June had offered him a position in the new venture. Now Day stood in a newly constructed test kitchen on Earth, surrounded by ingredients from 20 different worlds. These facilities are amazing, Day said, his normally serious face showing rare excitement. I can finally create the dishes I've been dreaming of for years. Show me, June said. Day prepared 3 dishes while June and Mira watched. The first combined Earth rice with spices from Proxima Centauri and protein from the seas of Europa. The second used Lycerian fruits with human cooking techniques to create something entirely new. The third looked like a traditional Drexian dish but used Earth ingredients to make it healthier and more flavorful. This is exactly what I wanted, June said after tasting each creation. Food that brings different worlds together instead of keeping them separate. The Drexian approach to cuisine is about purity, Day explained. They believe each species should stick to their traditional foods. But I've always thought that's a mistake. The best flavors come from respectful combinations. Like the best ideas, June agreed. We need you to train 20 more chefs in this approach. Can you do that? Day nodded firmly. I've already found 10 promising candidates. Humans who are curious about alien cuisines and willing to experiment. As the weeks passed, June's new venture took shape. 5 abandoned space structures were transformed into unique accommodation spaces, each with a different theme. One showcased Earth's natural environments with rooms designed like forests, deserts, and oceans. Another celebrated human arts and music. A third focused on human innovation through history. June named the new brand Terra, Comfort. The logo combined the Earth symbol with universal welcome, signs from various alien cultures. 1 month before the first location was scheduled to open, June received an unexpected visitor. He was working in his Earth office when Hana entered, looking uncomfortable. There's someone here to see you, she said, a Drexian representative. From their business council. June straightened his jacket. Show them in. The Drexian who entered was older than most June had met, with gray skin that had faded to almost white. He moved with the careful dignity of someone used to power. Mr. Kim, the Drexian said, bowing slightly. I am Nexus, Senior Advisor to the Drexian Business Council. I have come to discuss your recent activities. Please sit down, June offered. Would you like some refreshment? We have traditional Drexian tea. Nexus seemed surprised by the offer but accepted with a nod. When the tea arrived, served in proper Drexian ceremonial cups, the old alien's expression softened slightly. You know our customs well, he observed. I make it my business to understand those I work with, June replied. Or compete with. Nexus sipped his tea before speaking. The Drexian Consortium is concerned about your new venture, Mr. Kim. You have purchased several space structures in strategic locations. You have hired away key personnel from our operations, and you appear to be creating some form of competing hospitality business. Terra Comfort, June confirmed. Yes, we open our first location next month. I am authorized to offer you a generous settlement, Nexus said. The consortium will purchase your new properties at twice what you paid. In return, you will sign a non-competition agreement for the next 20 Earth years. June pretended to consider this an interesting offer, but I'm afraid I must decline. The Drexian's eyes narrowed. You would be wise to reconsider. The galactic hospitality industry is complex. A human business would face many challenges. Are you threatening me? June asked calmly, merely stating facts. Nexus set down his cup. Humans are newcomers to galactic society. You lack the connections, the understanding of different species' needs, the cultural sensitivity required for this business. June smiled. That's where you're wrong, Senior Advisor. Humans may be newcomers, but we're fast learners, and we have one advantage your consortium has forgotten. What might that be? We know what it's like to be treated poorly because of our species, June said, and we're determined not to do the same to others. Nexus stood, his formal manner returning. A noble sentiment. But business is not about sentiments, Mr. Kim. It is about power and connections, both of which you lack. After the Drexian left, Mira entered the office. She had been watching the meeting through the security feed. He's worried, she said. The Drexians don't make offers like that unless they feel threatened. Good, June replied. They should be worried. The day of the first Terra Comfort opening arrived. The location was the renovated space platform near Earth's moon. Originally designed as a military outpost, it had been transformed into a beautiful space that celebrated human innovation while providing comfort for all species. June had invited representatives from 20 different worlds to the opening. Many had accepted out of curiosity. Humans were known for their technology and their determination, but not for hospitality. As guests arrived, they were greeted personally by staff who had been trained to understand the cultural preferences of each species. Lysarians were offered the blue lighting they found comfortable. Centaurians were given the extra gravity they preferred. Drexians found their rooms arranged according to their traditions, with sleeping platforms facing their home star. The central garden contained plants from dozens of worlds, arranged to create harmonious spaces where different species could interact comfortably. The restaurant served Day's innovative fusion cuisine, with options tailored to every dietary need. Most surprising to the guests were the small touches that showed true understanding. Chairs designed to accommodate alien body shapes, climate controls that could be adjusted for individual comfort, art and music selected to please a wide range of sensory systems. By the second day of the opening celebration, word had spread. More guests arrived, curious about this new approach to hospitality. Among them were several high-ranking Lysarian diplomats who had been scheduled to stay at the Drexian luxury resort during an important summit. They publicly changed their reservations to Terra Comfort. On the final evening, June hosted a dinner for all the guests. As they enjoyed Day's remarkable food, conversation flowed freely between species that rarely interacted so comfortably. This is what I had hoped for, June said quietly to Mira, who stood beside him watching the scene. It's more successful than even you predicted, she replied. Her blue markings glowed with happiness. I've never seen so many different species enjoying each other's company this way. The Drexians still haven't come, June noted, except for the junior trade representative in the corner. And he looks uncomfortable. They're watching, Mira said. Trust me. By now, the entire Drexian Business Council knows what you've created here. Later that evening, as most guests had returned to their rooms, June stood alone in the central garden. The Earth hung in space beyond the viewport, beautiful and blue. A voice spoke behind him. "You've created something remarkable, Mr. Kim." June turned to see Tech, the Lissarian manager from the Orion Belt Resort. He had not been on the guest list. "Tech, I'm surprised to see you here." 1 year had passed since the first Terra Comfort location opened near Earth's moon. In that time, June Kim had expanded the business faster than anyone thought possible. 12 locations now operated across 3 galaxies. Each showcased a different aspect of human culture while welcoming guests of all species. The original location had become famous for its Garden of Earth plants. The second, built in an old mining station, featured art from human history. The third recreated environments from Earth, oceans, forests, mountains, allowing aliens to experience the planet's diversity without visiting. Others highlighted human music, food, or technology. On this particular day, June stood on the observation deck of the newest location, a converted battleship from the Centaurian fleet, transformed into a luxury space hotel. The giant weapons had been replaced with viewing platforms. The military quarters were now comfortable guest rooms. "The last inspection is complete," said Mira, joining him at the viewport. Her blue skin glowed with health and confidence. She was no longer just his assistant, but the chief of interspecies relations for the entire Terra Comfort enterprise. "Everything is ready for tomorrow's grand opening." June nodded, satisfaction warming his chest. "Have the media representatives arrived?" "Yes, 42 news services from 34 worlds." Mira checked her datapad, including for the first time 2 Drexian business channels. June raised his eyebrows in surprise. "Really? The Drexians are finally acknowledging us?" "They can hardly ignore us anymore," Mira said with a small smile. "Our profits last quarter exceeded their entire hospitality division. And after 3 major Lysarian investment groups withdrew from Drexian partnerships to work with us instead," she shrugged. "Even the Drexian Business Council must accept reality eventually." The reality was that Terra Comfort had changed the galactic hospitality industry. Traditional Drexian hotels continued to lose customers despite increasingly desperate price cutting. Several had closed. Others had begun quietly copying elements of the Terra Comfort approach, though without the genuine spirit of welcome that made June's properties special. "The staff is excited about your announcement tomorrow," Mira said, "though most still don't know the details." "Good. I want it to be a surprise." June looked out at the stars, thinking about how far they had come. "Have you prepared your speech?" Mira's blue markings darkened with embarrassment. "I still don't understand why you want me to speak." "It's your company. Your vision. A vision you helped build," June reminded her. "Without your knowledge of other species, your attention to details, your understanding of what makes people feel welcome, none of this would have worked." He touched her shoulder gently. "You were the first person who showed me what real hospitality means, Mira. It's only right that you help explain it to others." The next day, the grand opening ceremony began. The main hall of the converted battleship was filled with guests, diplomats, business leaders, media, and regular travelers from dozens of worlds. Some were longtime customers of Terra Comfort. Others were visiting for the first time, curious about the business that had disrupted the Drexian monopoly. Hannah Park organized the event with her usual efficiency. Earth foods were served alongside dishes from 20 other worlds, all prepared under Day's supervision. His fusion cuisine had become famous throughout the galaxy, with chefs from many species now studying his techniques. When the time came for speeches, June walked to the center of the room. He wore his usual simple black suit, a style that had become his trademark. Behind him stood his core team, Hannah, Day, and Mira, along with representatives from each Terra Comfort location. Distinguished guests, valued travelers, and friends, June began. 1 year ago, we opened the first Terra Comfort station with a simple goal: to create spaces where everyone feels valued, regardless of their species or origin. He paused, looking around the room at the diverse gathering. Many said it wouldn't work. They said humans lacked the experience, the connections, the understanding of other species needed to succeed in galactic hospitality. He smiled slightly. They were right about one thing: we did lack experience, but they underestimated the human capacity to learn, to adapt, and most importantly, to connect. June gestured to his team. What you see around you wasn't created by me alone. It was built by people from many worlds working together, sharing ideas and focusing on one simple truth. Comfort isn't about luxury. It's about feeling that you belong. The audience was quiet, listening intently. Even the Drexian reporters seemed engaged. Today, I'm announcing a change to the structure of Terra Comfort, June continued. Effective immediately, I am transferring 49% ownership of the entire enterprise to an employee-owned trust that includes staff members of all species. A murmur of surprise ran through the crowd. This was unprecedented in galactic business. Companies were owned by individuals, families, or corporate entities, not by the workers themselves. True hospitality isn't about who owns what, June said, his voice carrying clearly through the silence that followed his announcement. It's about creating spaces where everyone feels valued. Humans haven't survived this long by dominating. We've survived by connecting. After his speech, June introduced Mira. She stepped forward, her blue markings glowing with emotion that she didn't try to hide. I met June Kim 1 year ago, when I was a maintenance worker at a hotel that had demoted me for treating humans fairly, she began. Her voice was soft but carried throughout the room. I had lost faith in the idea that different species could truly respect each other in business. She looked at June with genuine affection. What I discovered working with him was something remarkable. When humans recognize value being rejected by others, they don't just accept it. They build something new around it. That's not just good business. That's wisdom the galaxy needs. The ceremony concluded with tours of the new facility. As guests explored the converted battleship, many commented on the perfect balance between human aesthetics and accommodations for other species' needs. Later, at the reception, a junior reporter from a small news service approached June. Mr. Kim, everyone is talking about your employee ownership announcement. What inspired this revolutionary approach to galactic business? Before June could answer, he stepped back and gestured for Mira to respond. The reporter turned to her, recording device ready. Mira smiled, her markings glowing. Humans have a unique quality. They see possibilities where others see problems. When June discovered how the Drexians were using hospitality to control and limit human influence in galactic society, he didn't just fight back, he reimagined what hospitality could be. After the reception, June stood alone on one of the viewing platforms. The converted weapon turret now offered a panoramic view of a beautiful nebula, clouds of purple and gold dust drifting in space. Hana joined him, bringing 2 glasses of champagne. Quite a day, she said, handing him one. The media coverage is overwhelmingly positive. Even the Drexian channels are calling the employee ownership model innovative. June smiled. They'll copy it within a year, probably, but they won't understand why it works. Hana looked out at the nebula. I got an interesting message today. The Drexian Business Council has hired a human consultant to help them understand where they went wrong. June laughed softly. The final irony. Later that night, most guests had returned to their rooms. The staff was cleaning up after the celebration. June found Mira in the central garden, sitting beside a small fountain designed to mimic the sound of rain on Earth. May I join you? He asked. She nodded, moving over to make space on the bench. I've been thinking about how much has changed in 1 year. Not just the business, but everything, including you, June observed. The maintenance worker I met would never have given that speech today. Mira's markings pulsed with amusement. No, she would have hidden in the engine room, fixing things and avoiding attention. She looked at him curiously. Why did you really give half the company to the employees? You could have kept it all. No one would have questioned it. Because shared success is more sustainable than individual profit, June replied simply. And because it was the right thing to do. The Drexians still don't understand that thinking, Mira said. To them, business is about control and dominance. They'll learn, June said confidently. Or they'll be left behind. The galaxy is changing, Mira. Species are working together in ways they never did before. Terra Comfort is just one small part of that change. They sat in comfortable silence, watching the stars through the garden's transparent dome. After a while, Mira spoke again. What happens next? It was the same question she had asked a year ago after the first location opened. But now it carried different meaning. Terra Comfort was established, successful beyond anyone's predictions. The path ahead was open with possibilities. We keep building, June said. Not just hotels, schools, hospitals, research centers. Places where different species can live and work together as equals. That's an even bigger vision than before, Mira observed. Yes. June smiled at her. But we've proven it can work, one step at a time. In the year since they had discovered the Drexian surveillance operation, everything had changed. What began as a response to discrimination had become something more important. A new model for how species could interact throughout the galaxy,